Okay, hang on one second here. Gotta find
This meeting is being recorded.
Good morning. This is Melinda speaking. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Hawaii State Ethics Commission. Today is May 18th and the time is 9:01. So commissioners, please indicate your presence via video conference when I call your name. And for purposes of the Sunshine Law, if anyone is present with you, please state who they are. I'm Commission Chair Melinda Wood, and no other person is present at my location. Vice Chair Fong, are you present? And is any other person present with you at your location?
I'm present and no one else is at my location.
Okay. Commissioner Gralty, are you present? And is any other person present?
Present, and there's nobody in the room with me.
Okay, good. Commissioner McCarthy, are you present? And is anyone else?
I am present and no one in the room with me.
Okay. And Commissioner Tobias, are you present? And is any other person present with you at your location?
I'm present and there's no one in the room with me.
Okay, great. I will also note the presence of staff, Executive Director Harris, Associate Director Yoza, Staff Attorneys Knifer, Chang, Campbell, and Yamanuha, and Computer Specialist Louis. Is there anyone else there on staff? I believe
We're also joined by William Anna, who is our intern over the past summer.
Okay, great.
Morning.
Good morning. For any members of the public who may be joining us, if the commission's video conference connection is lost during the meeting, we'll recess the meeting and reconvene after our connection is restored. Please check the commission's website at www.ethics.hawaii.gov for information about reconnecting to the meeting. If the meeting is continued to a later date or terminated, information about this will be posted on our website. Are there any members of the public joining us who would like to identify themselves at this time?
Good morning, everyone. Sandy Ma with Common Cause Hawaii. Hello.
And is anyone there with you?
Oh, sorry, no one's with me. Thank you.
Okay. Great, thank you. Any other members of the public? No. Thank you, Sandy, for being with us. It's always good to have Common Cause. So the first item on our agenda are the minutes of the April 20th, 2022 Sunshine meeting. Do the commissioners have any comments or corrections to the minutes? Does any member of the public wish to testify on this item? Okay, hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the April 20th, 2022 meeting?
So move.
And second?
Second.
Okay, so we'll do the roll call vote. Vice Chair Fong.
Aye.
Commissioner Gralty.
Aye.
Commissioner McCarthy.
Aye.
And Commissioner Tobias is was not at the last meeting, so you may abstain.
Abstain.
Okay, and the chair votes aye. So we'll move on to agenda item 2, the consideration and approval of the executive session minutes of the April 20th, 2022 meeting. So, do any of the commissioners have any comments or corrections to the minutes? If so, we'll need to go into executive session. I don't hear any. And does any member of the public wish to testify on this item? Boy, hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the April 20th, 2022 executive session meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. So I'll do the roll call vote. Vice Chair Fong.
Aye.
Commissioner Gralty.
Aye.
Commissioner McCarthy.
Aye.
And Commissioner Tobias is Used and
Abstain.
chair votes aye. Okay, so let's see here. Uh, Okay. I believe we will move on to agenda item 3, the executive director's report. So Robert, take it away.
Thank you very much, Chair and aloha commissioners.
Aloha.
Briefly, for the month of April, we had nearly 100 participants in the live Zoom trainings this month, and we had 73 individuals who took the self-directed online course. We have scheduled trainings for the rest of the year, trying to match based on specialized trainings for new board and commission members, CLE for government staff attorneys, et cetera, throughout the year by trying to match according to schedule. We are now trying to encourage individuals to sign up for some of these larger trainings, just recognizing, I think there's been a significant increase in demand in doing the trainings. So we're trying to be as efficient as possible. So for example, we have a online training tomorrow where we have nearly 300 people signed up alone. So we anticipate the number of individuals going through training to significantly increase. And that is matching or corresponding with the mandatory ethics training law. I think it has not yet been signed by the governor. It has been transmitted to the governor, but I think people are trying to get ahead of it. And we anticipate if it is signed up, we're going to also see just increased demand on the training side. And flexible so we can make sure we're able to meet that need. Let me pause there. Any questions about the trainings?
No.
Thank you. Moving on, we did have 21 new complaints filed for the month of April, as well as 14 GIF inquiries. Similarly, we closed 21 complaints, resolved 18 GIFs inquiries, and issued 4 guidances. We are, I think, I would say, sort of at capacity with regards to the complaints coming in. I think everybody's feeling relatively busy. And so trying to be sensitive about sort of the increased training demand as well, sort of trying to meet the overall complaint demand on just our current capacity. I would, shifting to miscellaneous office projects and updates, I would like to ask for the commission's indulgence on whether we can move our next meeting a day back to, June 16th, 2022, and see if there's any objections to that idea.
No objections for me. Bill?
No?
No objection.
Nope.
Commissioner Tobias, does that work for you?
So this is Melinda. What day do you want to switch it to, just to be real clear?
June 16th.
June 16th. I don't have any problem with that. Commissioner Tobias, are you there? Do you have any problems
I'm
with
here
that?
and I have no problem with that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you for your indulgence. Next, we discussed it briefly at the last meeting. I think there's been a tiny bit of email traffic on it too, with regards to encouraging folks to attend the August meeting in person. I think it can be completely voluntary. If you take a look at the actual conference room screen, you see that we now have video conference software that will show you a panoramic on the top of the conference room, and it will zoom in on anyone speaking. I think the intent is to try to make the hybrid virtual in-person meetings easier to do, and also allow anybody who's participating virtually to actually see the person speaking in the conference room. So it feels more comfortable, not like you're just hearing something in the conference room and not really knowing what's going on. So again, just trying to meet the future demands. And again, if possible, again, I open it up for discussion. I don't think this would be required, but I think it would certainly be a opportunity for commission members to interact and hopefully develop some camaraderie in the in-person meeting.
I personally have no objection to it. As a matter of fact, at my neighborhood board, we do what we call a hybrid. We have in-person for whoever wants to be at the in-person, then we have a WebEx that the community can use, which we have quite a few people coming on board, so they don't have to come down personally. So I have no objection, but again, I live pretty close to the venue. Two of the commissioners are off island, and then we have one who lives all the way out in Kapolei. So I don't know about them.
I don't have a problem either way. I can come to Oahu for the day and go home.
I don't relish driving all the way from Kapolei to town, having to find parking, getting reimbursed for parking and all the things that go with it. So for me, I'm content to be zooming in on the meetings, but that's just me. Now, if Vice Chair Fong will bring some manapua, that could sway my vote.
Well, and
I'm easily convinced, Wes.
Ray, for you, more than happy to.
Well, I'm now on the fence.
well, let's see if I can sweeten the pot any half-day parking pass that was issued back from when we were having our live meetings. So this is the state parking pass that you can use at the Capitol building or at any number of other parking lots. So we can get you free parking.
Yeah, I
Wow.
remember that, Chair. I remember that.
Okay, well, I certainly don't have any objection to the in-person meeting. In fact, I would look forward to coming across for the day to personally interact with commissioners, staff, and so forth. So
Again, I think if it's optional, hopefully we don't really have to resolve too much. I just wanted to make sure people are aware of that. And if there were any strong concerns, then obviously we can try to address those. But completely optional. And again, we're trying to make sure the technology works seamlessly. So if you're there in person or remote, hopefully it'll be a fairly good experience for everybody.
yeah,
Sandy, I saw that you came on board. Did you have any comments about this or?
Just to make clear for the record that everyone was joking with talk about the Manapua inducements.
I think
There is no
Ray-
bribery on
Ray
this
is-
commission.
Ray was serious. I know Ray.
There is no bribery. Let me make that clear.
Yeah, but you're invited. I'll share the Monaco with you.
No. No sharing of Manapuas with Common Cause. So,
As long as we don't have to declare it as a gift.
right.
I think it's going to be under $25. Ray.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
that's the point.
We gotta be squeaky clean here, so,
I think this sounds like a great time to move on. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree.
So,
I would like to actually
Yes.
cover one more thing, just moving on. So again, we'll send out the notice about the August meeting. We can talk about it also again at the next meeting. And we can obviously help coordinate the arrangements for the Neighbor Island commissioners to come in to that. I'm shifting gears. I do want to recognize William Anna, who is here on behalf of a program that allowed interns to affiliate with different state agencies. And we've been extremely lucky to have him. He's taken on a laborious task of, and I may have to pause and let Patrick help bail me out or William Anna jump in as well. But what he's been doing is basically taking a look at everyone who's participated in our trainings and help get our database in shape in order to make sure that we can confirm who's taken ethics training, who hasn't, going back to some of the old trainings that were in person and making sure our database is in shape. And so we're basically getting a lot of our filing system in shape. And it's been a huge amount of work. It's an incredibly difficult task, but it's incredibly a vital one. He's also been an extremely positive presence at the commission, in the office, just extremely fun guy, just really great to work with. And he's also been also very generous in bringing in completely unsolicited, but bringing in occasionally office treats to, again, just, proves what a generous, thoughtful person he is. I was going to propose that the commission issue a resolution recognizing his service. And if you don't mind, I was just going to read a little bit of language and ask if there's a motion to approve that resolution. So this will follow some of our standard language that we used before, but just recognizing one specific paragraph. Whereas the Hawaii State Ethics Commission proudly recognizes William Aona for his dedicated public service to the state of Hawaii, for his contributions to ethics while serving as an intern to the Hawaii State Ethics Commission from March 8th, 2022. And he's going to stay on a little bit extra as just a volunteer to help wrap up projects to July 29th, 2022. Therefore, be it resolved, Hawaii State Ethics Commission hereby commends William Aona for his personal commitment and contribution to the state of Hawaii and to ethics and government. And be it further resolved, the Hawaii State Ethics Commission hereby extends William Aona its warmest aloha, appreciation, and best wishes.
Can I
Can I
say
ask-
something?
Please.
Thank you
Do you
so much. I am so honored for this recognition. Also, I also want to say something, when my internship first came up, it was only scheduled to the end of this month. And I prayed and I asked the Lord, I said, Lord, is there any possibilities that, we can move this on? So I proposed, the agency for another month because of my schooling to see if I could just come on board and volunteer. And the very next day, we got an email from the director of the program saying that the internship program is extended. So they extended my internship program for another month, guys. And I'm just so blessed and honored to be working for such an extraordinary staff. I am not just saying this, but to be honest with you, this is the best staff I have ever worked for in my entire life. I have been through a lot of private companies. I worked for a large manufacturing company in the mainland. When I first went on board, I had almost maybe about 40,000 workers worldwide. So I had a lot of experience with the corporate sector, right? But when I came on board, the staff was exceptionally good, supportive. I mean, I just can't say enough of it. And I'm not afraid to tell anyone that tells me, Will, so how's your internship going? And I'll be like, I let them know that I work for one of the best agencies. And, my instructor for this past cybersecurity course, he was just so amazed and told me that I was at the right place at the right time. The way everything was set up for me in this internship program, everything happened so quickly, but words cannot express how much I'm so grateful and so respectful to this staff. And whatever I needed to do, I was humble enough to just do it. It was very tedious work, but I did it. And in fact, we did an exceptional job. Hats off to Patrick too for setting up the projects. And there's still more projects coming on down the line. I'm just looking forward to excelling it and hopefully, just whatever it needs to provide the best choices for this agency. I am willing and able to help in all means necessary. So that's what I just want to get across.
Thank you, William. I hope that shows what a wonderful, positive person William is to work with. This resolution was a surprise. We didn't tell him about it, and really appreciate all the kind words. Would it be possible to ask for a motion in support of the resolution as read?
So moved.
I second.
I'll second.
Oh, go ahead. Second.
I'll third. Go ahead.
I guess we should do a roll call vote. Vice Chair Fong.
Before I vote, is this going to be in a separate, certificate?
Yes, I'm going to ask if you want to do your digital signature, if we should mail it out after the vote.
Well, do we have a certificate that has our logo on the top, et cetera, et cetera?
We do.
Okay, then I, with that caveat, with that provision, I will say aye.
Okay, Commissioner Gralty,
Aye.
Commissioner McCarthy,
Aye.
Commissioner Tobias,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye very strongly, hoping that William will become a spokesperson for this chore. It's a hard project that you have undertaken, and it's good that you appreciated doing it too, because it's really important that, you know, we do keep track of the work and the training that the commission does. So thank you. And
Rob,
I
can I
vote
ask-
aye.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish your vote.
No, that's all I was going to say. So
Oh.
I'd say the motion carries.
My question, Rob, is can we not have the in-person commission meeting in July so that we can all sign the certificate in person rather than having it mailed to us individually? I mean, is there any magic doing it in August rather than July?
I had one request from a commissioner who would not be available to attend in person in July, as well as, unless I'm mistaken, I think that we would be having to. So yes, that was the main reason why. That was the main reason looking at August.
Can we have it in June? June 16th is the date that we're supposed to meet next. Is it too soon?
I guess the only, we can certainly look at that. I guess the only issue would be is whether or not the governor has acted on the new commissioners yet or not. I mean, part of it was also to get the new commissioners there. It's very well likely the new commissioners may have been nominated by then or appointed by then. So we can certainly also look at that. Does anybody have any concerns with trying to be in person on June?
Well, it'd be nice if Melinda could sign it because she's the chair and she'll be gone after June 30th. So maybe there is some benefit to doing it in June. As long as the Manapua is available, Wes, we can move it around. Well, anyway, we can look at it and talk about it some more. It's just that it's hard to pass around the resolution by mail. It gets all crumply and all that. We want it to look perfect.
Understood. Thank you for the suggestion. We'll take a look at it, and maybe I can try to inquire with the governor's office to see what the timing is going to be.
Yeah, I think personally it would be fun to see everybody in person one more time, but that may not work out. I understand that. In which case we'll have to have a social gathering with no agenda other than visiting with each other. It won't be a meeting.
Last month.
Yeah.
And I would think that we might want to give you some Manapua or something.
Well, we may be able to work on something unofficial if we can't do it officially. I'm sure there's ways we can arrange to get together.
Very good.
So we'll work on that. So,
that
Rob, any other?
No, that concludes section 3. And unless there's any objections, I can move into section 4 of the agenda, which is the legislative session.
Okay. All righty. Please proceed with item 4.
So looking at status of current bills, as reported last month, HB 2500, which is our budget, was enrolled to the governor and signed as Act Number 1. In addition, a supplemental funding bill, SB 2794, was enrolled to the governor and is waiting his consideration. What this bill does is it gives increase in funding to the different legislative agencies, including ours, to match some of the bargained salary increases. So we're waiting for the governor's signature and also direction from the speaker and the Senate president, sort of how that would be given, whether it's going to be a permanent salary increase or it's going to be a one-time bonus. But all positive news. Again, matching current negotiated increases that other bargaining units have negotiated. So that is largely, it with regards to the status of bills. Well, sorry, apologies. I sort of missed the big headline. Our mandatory ethics training bill was approved by the legislature and also enrolled the governor, where it's sitting his consideration. Both of these bills, he has 45 days from May 5th to either approve, sign, veto, or it gets approved without a signature. And we're obviously hoping both will go through. Any questions about current bills? Great. So the next part is going to be a little bit long, and I apologize for that. I'm going to go ahead and get screen sharing started. So bear with me just for a second. Could somebody give me a thumbs up if they can see the slide? Okay. Okay, I'm seeing a thumbs up. Great. So as you're aware, there is the Commission on Improving Standards of Conduct. Myself and Senny Ma, who's present, are members. What this commission has decided to do is to essentially meet every 2 weeks from now until, or starting in June until December, where the final report is due. And the each section or each meeting will be sort of focused on a particular topic. So the very first topic in June 1st is going to be on ethics. And so we are helping facilitate that discussion. And so what I'm going to share is a PowerPoint slide essentially with different ideas for discussion that the Commission on Improving Standards of Conduct, or I'll call the Standards Commission just for simplicity, would consider, noodle on, and then some of these ideas may wind up in the final report. I do obviously want to share it with this commission to get input, thoughts, guidance, red flags, green light, et cetera. So, I mean, please consider this in the form of just an open dialogue and discussion. Because there are so many different topics, open-ended conversations are difficult. We're trying to come in with kind of specific recommendations. They are not written in stone. They're not etched in. It's just more of a, here's a straw proposal. Let's, have something real to talk about. I'm probably going to be moving through this a little bit quickly. And I hope you recognize it's just for time's sake, but certainly willing to pause, stop, slow down, and have a bigger discussion as need be. I'm not looking for a formal motion from this commission endorsing this. Again, this is, but I certainly do want input, and hopefully that's understood. So different topics. One of the recommendations coming out of the Standards Commission was actually reaching out to the different counties. And so the first bullet point on ethics commissions is somewhat sort of after having talked and or try to appear at the different county meetings and trying to get some different input. Second discussion will be sort of around lobbyists. Third discussion point will be around legislators, anti-nepotism concepts, and then sort of transparency. And sort of the last one's maybe a little bit out of our kuleana, but sort of looking at sort of just legislative interactions with the public and state employees. So one of the things that has been raised is the adequacy of funding for all watchdog agencies. But one thing that might particularly be highlighted is looking at the neighbor island commissions, where typically there is no permanent staff assigned to them. It's usually a corp counsel who, among their many responsibilities, this would be one of them that is assigned to that. So, I think there's a genuine, legitimate question whether that's adequate funding, whether they're able to fulfill their mission. And I think even just more broadly, like even looking at State Ethics Commission overseeing 60,000 employees, whether or not there's sort of adequacy. So one concept is to propose the idea of an independent commission like the Commission on Salaries, with the idea that there's some independence there. There is some, objectivity to the recommendations that then could be used to help guide either the state legislature or the county councils on sort of trying to make sure that the various watchdog agencies are appropriately funded. Let me quickly pause. Any thoughts, comments, suggestions?
Great idea. I think
Moving
that
on.
the county, after we had our meeting with the county commissions, I think that's absolutely true, that as a body, all of us, that the counties need more resources, and we could certainly use more at this level too.
I will note, and meeting with all the counties, I think almost every single one mentioned the meeting, the conference that was held with us and the different counties. And I think the counties plainly have strong interest in trying to redo that meeting. So probably a topic for later discussion.
Sure.
So this one is called streamlining. This particularly came out of Honolulu County, where they do not have an online registration system. And I think there is an interest in trying to have reciprocal filing requirements. I think it'd be difficult to mandate this, but certainly we can look at ways to make it, to give each agency a greater flexibility to see if there's ways to try to make it easier, for example, lobbyists to register with the state and with the county at the same time, and just sort of looking for flexibility. The idea being, if you have too many requirements, you don't want to be catching people simply because of difficult or confusing requirements, but trying to make it as streamlined and as efficient as possible. Okay, so switching over to lobbyists. So one of the things that we're talking about is actually,
on that.
yes, please go ahead.
On the streamlining, the gotcha on the first, if we could just go back, the attempt to avoid the gotcha situation with multiple filings with different agents. Could you please go into depth and explain, to give me a little bit more detail on that?
Sure. So like a common example might be a lobbyist registers with the state of Hawaii and does not register with the county of Honolulu, for example, not recognizing perhaps that there is a state ethics commission and a county ethics commission. And so looking for opportunities where we can make it easier, for example, for someone to register for the state and also at the same time register for the county, and we could transmit that information to the county to try to make it easier for A, the lobbyist, B, sort of increase the number of lobbyists registered at both the state and county level, and to sort of make it more efficient. Again, I think these are just good goals in general. Like this doesn't necessarily have to be, I'm giving you one specific example. And so the idea is maybe trying to look for ways to build in some flexibility in the statutory role. So like one of the reasons why this doesn't happen right now is the county and state filing deadlines, timing are all different. And so it'd be really difficult to try to figure out ways to do it currently, but building some flexibility would allow us to move towards that direction.
Robert?
I'm a little confused on the gotcha. I'm trying to find out what the gotcha is.
Yeah,
Is there a misuse, or that's what my concern was. Gotcha kind of really brought that to my attention. So is there some type of malfeasance going on that we're not aware of, or what's the gotcha?
Yeah, that might be a bit too colloquial, to be clear. I think the intent of that wording is where somebody, for example, doesn't file with the county of Honolulu because they thought they'd already been filed universally, where there wasn't any ill intent. There was simply a ignorant mistake of the law. And the intent is obviously we want to prevent unethical behavior, but we also want to make sure that the requirements, full stop, period. And in addition, we want to make sure the requirements aren't too difficult or confusing in a way where people are failing to file, or they're filing inaccurately in a way where that's also a violation of law. We're trying to make it streamlined and as efficient as possible. Again, the gotcha may be too colloquial, something we can certainly try to change.
Robert?
Yes, Commissioner.
Who is that person?
I'm not sure.
The blonde person that is talking, that wants to know about the gotcha. I'm not familiar with her, and that's why I'm asking.
So it's a member of the public. If they want to introduce themselves, they can.
My name is Kai Lawrence. Kai on your side.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on. And I apologize, this presentation has a lot in it, so forgive me again if I'm moving through quickly. The intent is just to try to be respectful of time. So right now, any gift regulation is specifically towards state employees. And so one proposal would be is to sort of make a reciprocal requirement on lobbyists. And so if it's illegal for a state employee or legislator to accept a gift, to make a similar requirement that it'd be illegal for a lobbyist to give the gift. So trying to make sure there's equality. This is analysis of a few cases, basically upholding the constitutionality of these types of lobbying gift regulation concepts. and some examples of different jurisdictions that already do this. And so I think, again, our focus would be on mirroring the requirements and mirroring the exceptions. So the idea is it's sort of equal, whether you're a state employee, legislator, or a lobbyist, on what the requirements would be.
May I address that? Isn't a lobby, a legislator, and who else were you looking at with the lobbyists? It was the legislators and government employees. Isn't a lobbyist, is a lobbyist employed by the state or the government?
No, so
Wouldn't the state and government have more accountability to the public than a lobbyist? Why would you go after the lobbyist? I mean,
So
we have enough, we have really a huge amount of legislators and state employees, ethics cases. This poor guy that just took over, I mean, I know of 10, 15 cases that are years old that the actual evidence of malfeasance is prima facie. So I just think that why would you take, because a lobbyist is a free citizen. They're an employee for the people, for organizations. They don't have anything to do with the state, and they don't have anything. They're not a state employee, and they're not a government employee, and they're not a politician. So I don't understand why you would want to balance that out. But I think that we should be looking those that work within our government that are corrupt. And believe me, there's a lot of cases of that here in Hawaii. And you really should be focusing in more on that than going after the lobbyists that are independent. That's actually set up the way that we, the people, are supposed to have it. If the lobbyists work for independently of government.
So thank you for the question. And again, just for brevity's sake, I'm going to try to be succinct in responding. And then Sandy, I see you have a question as well. Currently the laws are only for state employees and for legislators with regards to the gift giving. And some of the challenges we have been having is lobbyists who know that the legislator or state employees can't take it, but keep offering or pushing it. And so the idea is to try to dissuade, again, somebody who's paid to lobby on behalf of a corporation, nonprofit, whatever it may be. They're meeting the lobbyist definitions, and they're actively going out and trying to give gifts to each and every individual. The idea is to try to make some reciprocity to try to curb that kind of behavior. So that's the intent specifically.
You're actually representing the legislators because they don't have the integrity or the ethics just to say no to the gifts. So we're going to create a law to go after lobbyists because our legislators and our government employees, you don't want them to be tricked because they can't act with integrity and ethics without you coming in and creating a law.
So understand your question. Sandy, do you want to say something?
Yeah, thanks for that, Director. So my question is the prohibition of gifts. Does gifts, will it mirror the language that's the definition already set forth in the statute?
That's the intent, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move on. So similarly, trying to require lobbyist training as a condition of being registered as a lobbyist. We already have a fairly high percentage of lobbyists who do participate in the training. This is just trying to make sure everyone's aware of what the rules and regulations are. There are a number of jurisdictions that do something similar. So the idea is, again, just trying to mirror it as a condition. So all registered lobbyists are required to take a mandatory training, repeat every 2 years to match with a legislative cycle. And again, like what we currently do, we'd have both live online webinars around the beginning of the legislative session and also set up self-directed online training modules so the person could take it at their discretion. And then this is a proposal to try to identify what lobbyists are actively lobbying on. So the idea would be is to actually require them, instead of right now, what happens is sort of a general description. They're working on, say, for example, energy bills. The idea is to actually require by identity the bill, resolution number, or similar identifier of the legislative or administrative action that they're working on, and build that into the regular filing requirements. Okay, that wraps up the lobbyist section. Sandy, go ahead.
Thank you. I have a question about the identifying of the bills, and this is just for clarification on my part. I lobby for Common Cause on many, many bills. I think during the 2022 session, it was close to 200 bills and resolutions. So I would have to identify by specific bill numbers and reso numbers, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's totally fine. I'm happy to promote transparency and accountability. I just wanted to be sure. Thank you.
Yeah, again, I would envision this as probably being a bit more retroactive, and that is a part of sort of a disclosure statements filed, sort of a normal part, wouldn't necessarily be prospective, in part because you have no idea what bills are going to be moving forward, what's going to get amended, changed, et cetera. Just trying to be pragmatic about sort of what is realistic here.
I know for the Honolulu ethics disclosure, we file at the end of the year and list all the bills that we advocate on. Thank you.
Thanks.
Robert, I have a question in regards to lobbyists. I think it's a good idea, but the question is, how can we enforce this? And who is going to enforce it? And is it a prerequisite that they take, you know, this training, and if they don't, they're precluded from lobbying? I mean, it sounds great, but you know, where's the teeth?
Yeah, so again, this would fall upon us to enforce. We obviously hope that there'd be a lot of voluntary compliance, and you know, to the extent that, for example, currently someone who meets the lobbyist definition that doesn't register, you know, we frequently do reach out to and require them to file, and it potentially could move to an enforcement action. So again, these would all be new requirements, both on the lobbyists, but also on us to maintain, educate about, to try to make sure people are meeting, and then ultimately enforce if we needed to. I mean, and again, with regards to like the gift regulation, you know, the ultimate hope is that this would reduce the amount of controversy about it overall, right? Because, you know, to the extent that, you know, if it's equal on both sides, hopefully both sides stop participating in the effort.
To actually overreach in regulation, I think that that's kind of wrong. I think that the politician that was elected to represent are the state employees, and I think instead of going after lobbyists, maybe you should actually, it's really strong training, go after these corrupt politicians and the malfeasance within the state, instead of pulling in people that, I mean, they're not government employees. These people are the people that we elected, that our taxpayers funding is going to, and we need them to have ethics. If they're getting the, like, your gotcha on your, you are worried about corrupt politicians getting caught. Your mere thing is, or what you said, you know, and people can go back and listen to this in the Zoom. You said, because you didn't want them to trick the politicians into having a corrupt moment. Well, if they don't have ethics and they don't have integrity, that's what the Ethics Commission is about. And we weed them out. We don't go after the people that come out and say, hey, look, these guys took a gift. If they took the gift, they knew it was wrong, it was against the refine them, or you take them to court and you hold them accountable. You don't make it so that they can't be tempted. That's ridiculous. I can't even believe that was stated in this meeting. It's mind-boggling.
I certainly,
don't want to be a part of the
I understand.
problem. I want to be a part of the solution. But I think that that's absolutely ridiculous. And I don't think that you're on the pulse of the people. The pulse of the people right now is that we want you. We don't mind funding the Ethics Commission. We don't mind that because we want you to go out and we want you to take these corrupt politicians out of office and fine them for their malfeasance, not go after the people that are actually showing their malfeasance.
With respect, your point is well understood. I am, just for brevity, and we have a long agenda, I'm going to keep moving on. Your point is well taken. I will respectfully give 2 quick examples that may help explain. We have had situations where state employees, not necessarily legislators, are pushed to take things. They keep saying no, and it keeps becoming a problem. And the idea is essentially to try to create a situation where we can tell the lobbyist, please knock it off. These are not typically citizen situations. These are typically situations where it's lobbyists who really should and can know better and are being paid to essentially do that behavior.
Who broke the law in taking the gift? Was it the
gift
lobbyist offering
gift
it,
wasn't
or
taken.
was it the state employee?
The gift wasn't taken, to be clear. The
Okay.
fact is that somebody's going door to door saying, hey, you can take this, take it. And the idea is we're trying to say, look, you shouldn't be doing that. The employee can't take it, the employee can take it.
You can't hire a state employee that doesn't know what the ethics
To be
are
clear,
of his position.
to be clear, the state employee is the one who's saying no and is calling us and saying, we keep getting these people coming by and offering it to us, and we can't do anything to stop it. Please,
just say no. Don't spend the taxpayers' time and money and effort on going after them for doing that.
Okay.
If the employee says no, it doesn't cost us anything.
Thank you. Again, understood. We're going to move on. We may have some further discussions about other ideas here. So again, with regards to legislators, currently, as you may well aware, Chapter 84 does not apply with respect to conflicts of interest. And so a consistent concern that we've heard sort of interviewing people and talking to folks is, sort of concerns about how effective the current House and Senate rules are with regards to conflicts of interest. And so what is being proposed here, and we have specific language already drafted, but this is sort of a summary of what it would do, is to make recusal a default requirement rather than simply a disclosure. Would define conflict as personal, familial, business, property, or financial interest. And then to the extent that we have situations where a legislator is in a class and it's been previously exempted because they're in a class of citizens, we are specifying that it has to be a general class and that the law or legislation will be applied to that broad class. A typical example would be like something impacting tax that impacts a broad, large number of people. So the idea is to try to make these rules tougher, tighter, with really specific procedural requirements to make sure that they're not, as a default, easily overridden. Financial disclosures for legislators, in addition, to the extent that they are part-time employees and are frequently also having other forms of engagement, we're proposing to actually put in the financial disclosure requirement that they would have to identify the name of any lobbyist or lobbying organization that is making contributions in a way that's going to flow to them, including an employee or employer of the filer. This one's sort of a complicated topic, and I think we're sort of maybe going into new directions here with this, but it's plainly something we have to talk about. And there's other ideas to try to solve this, to be clear, but this is at least one straw proposal to start with. Okay, let me pause there. Any questions about legislator? Great. Moving on to nepotism. So trying to create, so to be clear, there's potentially some prohibitions on nepotism under the current fair treatment law. Here is an attempt to create a bright line rule specific to promotion and hiring decisions. So this would be discreetly to family members, tries to avoid some of the complicated determinations we've had to make on the fair treatment, tries to create more integrity, and then sort of following 27 other states that already have some form of nepotism law. So
I
this
have a
would
question,
prohibit.
Robert, in regards to nepotism. Does that mean that a legislator cannot hire any person to whom he's related to?
So this would apply to all state employees and legislators if it were to be passed. And so it would be, again, subject to discussion about how many degrees of sanguinity you would go. The typical one is 3 degrees. So like uncles, aunts, nieces, nephews. Yes, you would not be allowed to hire.
And the reason I asked that question is because our former president, didn't he hire his family?
I could answer that question. Sorry.
Robert, I don't know if any of the other 27 states that have nepotism laws on the books or not also have with it something like the Civil Service Commission in order to weed out favoritism, corruption, and nepotism, and to have a way, a standardized way of testing people to allow them to obtain jobs on the basis of merit. So I don't know, as you go through this with the commission, will you be looking at some of those 27 states to see what the best practices are and whether or not anything like the civil service type operation was existing there and whether or not it could apply to Hawaii?
It's a great question. So let me first take a quick step back, if you don't mind. I'd like to recognize that a lot of the staff attorneys have been working on these concepts. And so a lot of these ideas are not mine uniquely. And I really do want to make sure that they get the credit, recognition, and praise. And to the extent that I ever stumble in articulating any of these, I want to make sure that the fault's mine, not theirs. And so I do want to recognize Key, who has worked on this particular concept, who might have some input. But I would sort of say this one's pretty narrow, specifically on the hiring and promotion. So there's nothing wrong, for example, if somebody works for the Department of Education and one of their family members gets hired by the Department of Education. What we're trying to limit is them specifically hiring their family member and the appearance of favoritism, the appearance of it. It wouldn't be a problem with them basically, having that position be supervised by somebody else or hired by somebody else, for example. So it's sort of your narrow, specific supervising over that individual or hiring of that individual. Key, did you have anything you want to add to this?
Sure. Yeah, I did not look specifically at Civil Service Commission. I was really looking at the structure of the nepotism laws in those states. So I don't know if the 27 states have something like a Civil Service Commission. I think something like that would have to be done in conjunction with DHERD because I think, you're kind of verging into human resources stuff. So,
right.
Something to think about.
Yeah. It was just my
So
thought.
this, are we looking at going retroactive? Because I know of numerous cases of nepotism right now that right at the state capitol. So like if we got something like this through, would it affect the positions of nepotism that currently exist?
So the last bullet point, I think, does address that, which is allowing the continuation of a job assignment already existing at the date of the passage of this. So it would not be retroactive, but it'd be going forward. Again, that's subject to discussion. This is strong.
Really
well,
unfortunate. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So this one's specific to the legislative allowance, and this is something that we've pushed for in the past. And so the idea is maybe moving to actually passing it as statute to require that the legislatures would have to post expenditures. Currently, they're allocated $13,000 that they can use for state purpose, but frequently would, and the example that would be communicating with constituents, et cetera. And that's set to increase. It matches with the salaries. So it's going to go up in 2023 to, I think, roughly $16,000. So just to ensure transparency, public confidence, the idea is try to put that online and make it easily accessible. Similarly, right now there is where campaign funds are sometimes used for ordinary necessary expenses. And we have had at least one matter arising out of that type of situation. I think the idea is just create a bright line rule saying that you can't mix campaign funds and state funds in this matter. So this is Aloha civility rule. And again, this is probably the one that is the fuzziest, to be clear, and probably something that's going to require further discussion. We've seen two different kinds of examples of allegations around either a lobbyist or a member of the public has been threatened by a legislature, like we'll cut funding to your program or we'll do something sort of punitively to you because you haven't been nice to us or you're not cooperating. Or similarly, a state employee has been told, please do this, hire this person, do this type of action, or we'll cut position to your budget or we'll somehow impact you. So it's sort of, there's also been allegations of swearing, cursing, sort of bullying behavior. Again, these are all allegations. I'm not saying any of them are been verified or factual. However, the idea is there sort of a mechanism to try to address those types of situations if they happen? And so currently there is in the House and Senate rules, there is a mechanism for a commission, but I think, again, and speaking to folks, particularly lobbyists, members of the public, there's sort of a concern of if they come forward that there might be retaliation. And so, how do we address those situations? And again, Chapter 84 may not be sort of the ideal solution to try to address this. So one route would be to try to propose an independent body or to task an existing independent body to accept and investigate these types of allegations. If they're true, or if they're found to be true, then a report would be publicly issued to the pertinent legislative body with recommendations on how to proceed. So again, the legislature does have the ability to sanction, do a number of steps to its own members. And the idea is to try to create some mechanism to force function that. And then where possible, try to protect the anonymity of the complainant if that's something that's needed in the situation. Again, this is a rough concept, and I think there's going to be a lot more discussion around it, but the idea is trying to start somewhere.
Robert, can I make one observation on that, on the preceding slide? It just seems to me that we're combining two different concepts. The ones where the legislator who are saying, if you don't cooperate, we're going to cut your funding, is a threat, basically a threat. The other one where you're involving civility, rudeness, and so forth is a matter of form. And it really is distinct from threatening behavior, it seems to me. And I don't know if you should blend those two together necessarily. I think the idea of a civility rule is a great idea, but I think it's quite different than if somebody is threatening another improperly.
I hear that.
With it. I think the top one is like, there should, that's almost like FBI material. And the other one is more of a forum and how to condemn yourself and your presence to the public.
Good comments. Certainly take them under advisement. I guess maybe as a bit of an explanation, it may be challenging to separate what is a threat and what is normal state public policy being exercised. For example, a department maybe has funding positions that should be cut, that there is genuine questions about the function of an agency that the legislature is exercising their normal responsibility to oversee and sort of make sure they're running effectively. And so there is some blurring here, but I certainly understand the concept and something to take back and try to look at a little bit more closely.
I don't think extortion is a blurring. That's extortion. You do this or I'll do that. That's not a blurred line. That's a criminal line.
Understood. Okay.
Okay.
That is the end of the recommendations. And let me just, at this point, I'm going to stop the screen share and then just ask if there's any other input or thoughts, particularly from commission members on recommendations. Again, the Standards Commission is also going to be a publicly noticed meeting. The notice of that agenda will be posted on the legislature's website, capitol.hawaii.gov. The next meeting is currently scheduled to be in June 1st at 2 o'clock. And then every meeting thereafter is going to be publicly noticed, and there will be an opportunity for public input for those meetings as well. So let me just pause there. Are there any other comments, thoughts, suggestions, commissioners?
Yeah, Robert, this is Wes. You know, the last slide, it says that there will be an independent body to be created to do the evaluation. Does that mean outside of the ethics commissions? You mean that? And who sets up this body?
So I think it said either an existing body, an existing independent body, or creating a new one. And I think the idea is just trying to be flexible in the concept. It would be obvious to look to either the Ethics Commission, the Ombudsman's Office, or the Auditor's Office. There's a number of existing bodies you could potentially look at. But I think the idea is not to come in with a fixed concept at this stage, or setting up another independent body.
So that was my question. I don't think we need any more bodies. We've got enough bodies.
Understood.
When it's going to take it under its wing to make that determination. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner
I have
Tobias, I
to
think you're on mute.
agree. Oh, I'm sorry.
I think it's work well done, and I think that there are a lot of very sticky issues. And I think if we address them and not really just kind of assume that there's this or there's that, but as you're doing, address the issues and say, okay, these are the things that we need to watch out for, and these are the things that we will have as we come together with this program. I think it's work well done and needed.
Thank you. And again, I really do want to recognize the staff who've worked really hard in this on top of their already existing duties. They deserve 99% of all the credit on these concepts.
Right, agreed. Well done.
Great job, guys.
Okay. I believe that ends the part of the legislative updates. Again, apologize for taking so long. Just really want to make sure we had a chance to get input.
Okay. Any other comments? If not, the next item on our agenda is the Hawaii State Ethics Commission and Daniel Pluck. Kind of versus State of Hawaii Ethics Commission and another bill, all related. If Robert, do you have any update for us?
No update.
Okay, so we will not go into executive session to discuss that. So, okay. I guess that is the end of our sunshine meeting. Am I correct in that, Robert?
Yes, I think we can.
Okay, so the next item on our agenda is adjournment. So
Madam Chair, yeah,
yes.
I may have spoken prematurely because if I'm not mistaken, our tenure as commissioners, do we end in June? Is that it?
June 30th.
June?
I'm counting the days, Wes. June 30th.
Yeah, so Ray, my offer to buy the Manapua has to be subject to if I am reappointed, okay?
Well, can that be a parting gift?
I don't think this is an outside of commission meeting discussion.
Ray, as you already know, as a judge, I will take that under advisement.
Well, there you go.
Yes, well, we can figure out all of this stuff. Since it's not official business, we can figure that out. Okay,
so moved.
Yes. Okay,
Second.
so I will roll call vote to adjourn. Vice Chair Fong,
Aye.
Commissioner Galti,
Aye.
Commissioner McCarthy,
Aye.
Commissioner Tobias.
Aye.
Okay, and the chair votes aye, so this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much.